A recession is coming.
The US needs a miracle to avoid a recession.
For many households this year, it will feel like a recession.
5 quarters of recession.
A prediction of 13% inflation and a full-blown recession.
It's not a surprise at all that the Bank of England is forecasting a recession.
A country is in a recession when it has 6 months of negative economic growth. Spending decreases, companies struggle, and some go out of business. People lose their jobs, they struggle to pay their bills, banks stop lending, and then the stock market starts crashing. So recessions are bad, but for various reasons, this particular recession is different and will change a lot of things. The cost of living is soaring, and we're reaching almost double-digit inflation. The cost of fuel, food, gas, and rent are at all-time highs. With the shortages on energy and food, and a conflict on the brink of eruption means the consequences are being felt everywhere. During a recession, inflation usually drops, but for the UK and the US, we're currently seeing the opposite play out. Recessions are difficult, and this particular one we're facing may be worse. They're also misunderstood because there will be opportunities for the financially aware. So in today's video, I want to be going over a few things we need to be doing to make sure we have enough money and income to get through these tough times. But before that, let's go into what a recession is and what happens in a recession. A recession occurs when a country has had 6 months of negative economic growth, and that's determined by GDP, or gross domestic products. GDP increases when money is moving in the economy, so when people spend money eating out at restaurants, buying coffees and other goods and services. When spending drops, so does GDP. And if this drop continues for 6 months or longer, it means we enter a recession. So as a result of people spending less money, then businesses make less money, which initiates the economic decline. As day-to-day spending goes down, it means companies need to cut back, which can lead to offering less hours and an increase in unemployment. With more unemployment and less earning potential, it will lead people to struggle to pay for bills, services, and any other outstanding debts. If debts aren't repaid, it makes it difficult for banks to lend money, making borrowing hard. Now, if there's less lending opportunities available, companies and consumers continue to struggle. Business valuations drop and the stock market declines, and that kind of forms this downward spiral. So the current circumstances we're looking at right now go beyond a standard recession, and that's a result of rising inflation. Normally in a recession, inflation falls, and for numerous reasons, the UK and the US are seeing the opposite play out, with it increasing instead of decreasing. In August of 2022, inflation in the UK hit 10.1%, which is a 40-year high. That's caused utilities and fuel prices to be higher than ever before. Fewer employment opportunities and increasing bills means many will struggle. So why is this happening? Lots of this is linked to the impending war because of the conflict in Ukraine, and this has kind of had like a domino effect on the world and the prices that we need to pay. The next few months will be very important as the conflict plays out. If you're able to be careful with spending wherever possible, it will allow you to save more money and invest it in assets. A famous quote from Warren Buffett is, "Be fearful when others are greedy and greedy when others are fearful," meaning you can use the current situation to benefit financially, such as investing in index funds and stocks and shares, so buying them when they're cheap and on the decline. But you can only do that if you've identified how to save money and how to allocate your money in a better and more efficient way. So number one is monitoring your outgoing expenses. You need to optimize where you're spending your money and try to review it as often as you can. You can try your outgoings using various banking apps and see what categories are a bit too high and try to pull back on certain areas. Look for inefficiencies in your bill and try to think if it's a subscription or membership you can remove, or may involve changing providers in order to get a better rate. Websites like USwitch or Money Supermarket can help you compare different providers with the latest deals. Create yourself a budget which includes your spending so you know how much is going out and how much you'll allow yourself to spend within reason. You don't have to be too strict with yourself, but making sure you're on top of your expenses is key. A phrase or a saying I like to remember is that if you can't buy it twice, it means you can't afford it. It does help when deciding if an item or device that's not a necessity is worth spending on. Number two is get out of debt. It's easier said than done, but if you have debt, you need to find ways to eliminate it. As long as you have an emergency fund in place, it's a good idea to make sure you're up to date with payments on loans and credit cards. Make overpayments where possible to get rid of the debt as quickly as you can. Gains compound, but so do losses. So that means we can't move towards investing money until our debt has been taken care of. Interest on debt can vary, but usually the percentage is higher than the returns you can expect from the stock market. So your time and money is better spent paying off that debt. Wherever possible, try to avoid taking out new debt and spend money on essentials until you've managed to remove outstanding payments on credit cards or loans. Number three is create a safety net. Once you remove debt, you can look at the next point, which is an emergency fund. If you don't have an emergency fund, create one. We never know when we'll need that money, and it's needed in times of emergencies. Having 3 to 6 months of an emergency fund is a good rule of thumb, as it gives you reassurance and peace of mind that if something were to break, like your boiler for example, you'd have the money needed to fix it. The more of an emergency fund you can have, the better, especially in times like now. The more worried you are about your job security and finances, then a larger safety net or an emergency fund is probably for the best. Number 4 is upskill. upskill and invest in yourself. Is there a new skill you can learn or develop? If you're out of money, invest your time into learning about investing, personal finance, and managing your money. You can also pick up new skills such as coding or software development. Look for skills that are in high demand and that pay well. The more skills you have, the higher pay you can command. So self-development and investing in yourself is so important. You may not have the money, but we all have the exact same amount of time in the day. So be sure to prioritize what you need to do and use your free time and add value to your life wherever possible. There are free resources everywhere and you can use that to learn. Investing in your future self is the best thing you can do. So take the time needed to do that. Which brings me on to my next point, which is improving your income. If you've taken the time to create a budget, manage your spending, getting rid of debt and having an emergency fund, and taken the time to invest in yourself, you should now think about improving your income. It's like you've plugged in all these holes and you can really focus on increasing your income with the new skills that you've learned. This may mean changing job or the company that you work for, or picking up extra hours and shits. None of these things are easy, but if you take the time to think about these steps and implement them into your daily lives, things will gradually become easier over time, and it'll help you navigate these tough times with less stress. If you like this, you might like to check out my other video over here where I talk about the psychology of money and how it can ultimately help you with your finances. Thanks for watching.